Hi friends, host Eric here, host of Talking with Famous People, and I'd like to chat briefly about Donald Trump. 3 myths about Donald Trump. Number 1, he's less honest than other candidates. Now, this is a common belief amongst people who support anybody but Donald Trump, is that the other candidates are more honest than he is. They will acknowledge that he's more likely to speak his mind, but nevertheless maintain that other candidates are more honest. I think what's interesting is that there's a misperception amongst people that politicians can honestly engage in political rhetoric. It's not possible. The reason it's not possible is because they're asked to make too many definitive statements about public policy, about what ought to be, about plans that they have. So if a politician wants to sell one of their little plans, which is basically a plunder directing idea, like let's spend the plunder like this. When somebody has a plan, they're out there to sell their plan. They're not there to talk actually about the complications of their plan or the details of their plan, or why it's difficult, or why it's not really clear-cut exactly what we ought to do in a given circumstance. Now, people have called, and this is myth number 2 about Donald Trump, and it's related, sort of. Argument number 2 says he is making fallacious process arguments that are designed to obfuscate and mislead. Okay, well, no, Donald Trump is not making fallacious process arguments that are designed to obfuscate and mislead. He is, in fact, making by far the truest arguments of any of the candidates when he says, well, when that moment arises, when I have to attend to this matter of this given policy choice that you bring up, I will find the best people to do it, and we'll do it right and we'll get it solved. Now, it might be true that that's not a particularly informative answer, but it's not true that it's an answer that's disingenuous, or that it's an answer that is less synced with reality than the more concrete answers of the other candidates. I think, in fact, it's more synced with reality. It suggests to me that Trump is an ESTP, by the way, his personality type. I think I'm pretty sure he is. No, not an ENGP. It's just not. No. The last of the myths is that Donald Trump is dumb. Well, I'm going to correct the last of these myths now. Donald Trump is not any less honest than any of the other candidates. His argumentation is not more fallacious. And lastly, he's not dumb. What Donald Trump has is he has extrovert sensing high in the stack. He's a proceed kind of guy. He's not necessarily a huge planning kind of guy, but he's let's do what's in front of us kind of guy, He's effective in his own life. Will that make him an effective president? It's hard for any of us to say, but the amount of of vitriol directed to him. I think is reflective of the way in which people subconsciously bury the truth about their own preferred candidate, and how that candidate that they prefer, they think is more presidential or whatever they think, is just another random person like you or me too. And their certainty about exactly what they're going to do, rather than their inclination towards process arguments, concerns me deeply. If they really know what ought to be done right now, then they have a hubris beyond all reckoning to presume that that individual human being can make the determination about, yes, I can justify aggression for this reason or that reason, and I'm right, and if you disagree, you're wrong. Well, that's no different than being a criminal thug. So I think it's important to remember that probably when people dislike Trump strongly, it is their own internal revulsion at the violence for which they advocate, and the violence implicit in the status quo of statism. That deep down underneath, they understand that their humanity is being taken from them, that their dignity is being taken from them when they submit to governance, and that it's a disastrous failure in all regards. And yet they're attached, clinging desperately to certain perspectives that would suggest maybe it's not. And thus, that expresses a lot of hostility towards Trump. I'd rather have Trump than Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz, or any of the Republican candidates. I'd rather have Trump. I'd most like to have Gary Johnson, Libertarian candidate. But I'll take Trump as second.